Thank you, Bob. How many people here know Louisa Mursell? Put your hands up. You're doing a good job, Louisa. I would say over 50% of the people in the room know you, and I've known you for a long time, 15 years or something. You've been doing this a long time, and really happy to welcome you to our park. Louisa Mursell from Ontario by Bike.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. It's great to be back here in Ottawa Valley. I always enjoy visiting here, and I do not get enough occasions, so invite me some more. It's a bit of a drive for me from my home, but yeah, it's a beautiful area, and I'm always very happy to tell people about Ottawa Valley whenever we're at shows and events, and handing out the cycling maps from Renfrew and from Lanark County, and working in partnership with many of you here in the room. So it's wonderful to see you and be back again. I'm also happy to share with you a lot of information about cyclotourism. That's something that we've been working on for many years in many formats. So a little bit about Ontario by Bike. If you don't already know us, if we haven't had the great opportunity to meet before, what we do is we develop and promote cyclotourism across the province. We work with the different regions, all in all, to combine a greater product across Ontario and attract more cyclotourists, not only to your local community, but also as a provincial destination to cycle. So we do it through a number of different areas that we work on. We work with the businesses for the certification program, which I'll share more about in a little while. We work with different destinations to help them develop their cycling product. We also do a lot of communications with cyclists themselves. So we work on the industry side, but we also connect with cyclists, the consumer, through the tours that we do, through our marketing products, through a number of different avenues as well. We're also a non-profit organization, Transportation Options. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary last year. So our mission is to work in the fields of sustainable transportation and tourism here in Ontario. So yeah, we've come a long way since we started in, I think it was 2007, started working with Via Rail to make cycling transportation easier in Ontario. There's been a few little hiccups with Via Rail as there's no transportation available for bikes currently, but I think with a new fleet coming out in the next couple of years, which I hear they're already test marketing Ottawa, Montreal, there'll be a much better improved bike space for people traveling with Via Rail. From there we grew the program really to something much, much larger and connecting with all communities, not with just ones that have train services across Ontario. We've hosted many cyclotourism conferences, so something like this on a different scale with international speakers. We've met and connected with more and more regions across the province, and we've developed our marketing programs that really have a far reach across to a large range of cyclists. So we wouldn't be here today without some amazing partnerships across the province, including those with Renfrew County, Lanark County, and Ontario Highlands Tourism Organization, and Frontenac County, I'll say, because Richard's sitting right there too, and City of Ottawa. We've worked with some amazing people and very supportive municipalities and tourism organizations across the province. So as far as working here in Renfrew County and Lanark County, we have had a great relationship since 2012, 2013, when we first launched our Ontario by Bike program here. We hosted a number of workshops in the area to connect with local businesses. We have every 3 years, we renew our program with our partners in the area, and we hosted some webinars in that format. And we'll say that our next renewal for Lanark County and Renfrew is coming up in 2024, so we'll be hopefully working with the local tourism organizations and making sure that our programs are continued here. We have a vast array of information, so all your cycling information can be found on our website on dedicated pages for Ottawa Valley, dedicated page for Lanark County, and for all the surrounding regions have great places to cycle that cyclists actually make use of, and they also connect from those pages to the businesses that are certified as bicycle friendly. There's over 1,600 businesses certified as bicycle friendly in Ontario now. There are 69 combined in Lanark and Renfrew County, so a lot of opportunity to grow that, and I'll give you some more information shortly on how you can be ambassadors and connect your local business community to our programs. It doesn't cost them anything, supported by great partners in the area. So here's a list of some of the businesses. I know it's hard to see. I think it was Bob asked me to put it on, but there's a great scattering of businesses across Ottawa Valley, Renfrew County, and then the same for Lanark County. So a lot of opportunity to grow those. A lot of accommodations are a part of our businesses certification program, as well as cafes, restaurants, actual business areas can be a part of it. There's a number of different tourism categories that are included. So other program background in the area, we've worked for quite a number of years with many of the tourism entities here to promote cyclotourism. This is our amazingly 11th year that we've published. This comes in French and in English. So Ottawa Valley, Lanark, and Frontenac have come together with the Ontario Highlands. They have an ad in there. We include their information about great cycling routes. I know Leslie's in the audience. She's done a number of amazing articles featuring this lovely area to cycle in. We'll be doing our 2024 media kit out in October, so hopefully our partners in the area will be a part of that again for 2024, our 12th edition. Yeah, lots of cyclists receive that, over 40,000 printed, and already I think about 20,000 digital views this year. Also last year we hosted one of our Ontario by Bike rides. I'll share a little information that we gathered from that and some feedback on your area from cyclists, not just myself. We worked on Route Champlain itineraries. We've worked with the Voyageur cycling route. I know you'll hear about that from Jennifer shortly. We've also developed some itineraries for our Ontario Highlands across their larger area. And as Marianne was mentioning, I think the provincial cycling route, when that was being developed in 2016, 2017, we were a part of that as well. And pleased to be back at another active transportation or version of it summit here in Ottawa Valley. So why welcome cyclists? Well, there's lots of great reasons to do that, and Bob certainly touched on a bunch of them. Cyclotourism is really growing internationally. There's destinations across the world that are really paying attention to this as a tourism product and bringing people to their destinations, and they're seeing some amazing results from doing so. So it's hard to get numbers. Everybody likes numbers, especially those politicians in the room. That really turns the crank and helps inspire further investment, but it is hard to get that. There are some numbers from the US that show the value of cyclotourism from different states. Arkansas recently published some great facts. There's also some information from the Great Allegheny Passage. The number of cyclists have been increasing there, and the value of their visiting the trail towns, which I think you'll also hear more about shortly, is about $121 million in 2019. They saw a huge surge of trail use, and I'm sure you have here, during the COVID years, so that is also bringing money into the communities, especially now that everything is reopened. Quebec is a great market, especially for this area. I'm sure you get a lot of visitors from Quebec. It's very, very easy for them to get here. Yeah, about 1 in 4 cyclists are cyclotourists in Quebec. They're readily spending a lot of money in their own province and when they're traveling. So about 700 million annually was a figure in 2015. They're also developing a lot of new products, so watch out. They might try and steal some of your market and keep their own cyclists in their own province. In our conference in March, we just heard about the Velo Route Gourmand, which is developing in the eastern townships, and that's starting to get a lot of attention, and we look forward to hearing some more successes about that as they've had it now a full year of capturing cyclists. So the good news in Ontario, and these are figures from 2019, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some good figures for a few years because of that bump in tourism that we had, the lack of tourism, but these figures do show that the people that are cycle tourists in Ontario participating in cyclists, there's about 1.6 million in 2019, and $644 million can be attributed to their activities here while visiting Ontario. Also, there's a chart here, and maybe we're sharing slides and information with attendees after. You can look a little bit further. The destinations by RTO regions, the number of people that are visiting. So you'll see RTO 11, you'll also see RTO 10, which is Ottawa. 11 is the area that you're in here as well. So as Bob mentioned, cycle tourists are great spenders. The facts from that 29 report by Stats Canada do support that as well, that cycle tourists stay longer and spend more in the community versus traditional type of visitors. And the facts are stated there, $404 per trip versus $223, 3.7 nights versus 1.4 nights for a non-cycling visitor. So when they're coming to your communities, you might be interested in this. Accommodations, they are spending large on accommodations, so you might think that it's a myth that everybody's camping in the backwoods, off a trail, guerrilla camping. They're not. They're staying in roofed accommodations, and they're enjoying spending a larger amount than you might anticipate. They're also spending on your food and beverages, at your local restaurants, your local cafes. A large percentage of people are spending over $26 a day, and those figures are a little old because I know you can't even get a dinner for $26 anymore, even with a glass of water. So not only are cyclists participating in going to your local restaurants, but they're also doing a lot of other activities here. So cycle tourists come in all different forms and shapes. Some people are keen to do 80, 100, 120 kilometers a day. Other people might just be driving out from Ottawa, parking beside the trail, doing 15 kilometers, coming back to town to look at your local shops, having a coffee or a meal, and that's a great day. Everybody is welcome. There's so many different ages and abilities and different types of riders, and they can all be cycle tourists. So yeah, they're visiting your local galleries, they're doing other outdoor activities, they might be doing some whitewater rafting while they're there, they're going to some galleries, they're enjoying some artist studio tours, and many other activities as well as cycling. So I mentioned we run our own Ontario by Bike rides. We've got one more this year. We usually host about 4 every year, and through those we're able to do some little economic impact studies ourselves, which is really useful for the regions that we go to. They're small group tours, fully supported. We have a support van. We try to limit it to 40, 45 people. We're usually quite limited by the type of accommodations that we can stay at as a group. We need to stay at usually a kind of chain hotel to grab 25 rooms all available at once. So in 2021, we were able to go on the Cataraqui Kingston Cruiser. All our itineraries are online. People use them, self-supported, and ride them all the time. We hear amazing feedback on that. We were in Cataraqui Kingston. I might have left an extra line in there, but for 2 nights, the economic impact per person, this is what they were spending while they're in the Napanee, Kingston, and Bath area was $373 per person. We've collected similar stats for the Thousand Islands ride, which usually goes from Gananoque all the way to Cornwall, and we'll be doing that one again next year. That's a bit longer. And what it might be of interest to you is our Atlantic County tour that we hosted in 2022. So that was 3 days, 2 overnights. So we spent in Carleton Place, because again, they had a chain hotel that we were all able to be together at. And we went out on the Ottawa Trailway one day, the Cataraqui Trail the next day, and the Ottawa Valley Recreation Trail the following day. And everybody was amazed and had an incredible time. We had a 9 out of 10 rating on how enjoyable it was. Many people said their favorite parts was stopping at the communities along the way and how close those communities were to the trail. Other comments we had that maybe weren't so positive, and it's good maybe for you to know, is that in some places the conditions of the trail were a little rockier and not as well kept as some parts, and maybe there was some recent grading or damage from ATVs. Some people said that there was dog poop on the trail, so maybe you need some signs to remind people not to leave it there. And better signage was needed to connect the communities to the trails. And I gotta say, I noticed that last night. I had a little walk on the trail here in Arnprior, and I'm not from here. Like, how do I know where your downtown is? Because I wanna go to your town, and I wanna spend money, and I wanna eat there and see what it's like and experience that. So I definitely think that's something that maybe can be a conversation here with a number of different partners in the room. So as far as that Lanark County tour, and I've sent all this information previously to a number of folks in the room, and you can use it to show what the economic impact was. So if you see another cyclist on the trail and you know that they're staying for maybe 3 days, 2 nights, their economic impact might be similar. So it was about $569 per person was spent when we were here. And overall, as a group, we spent over $21,000, so that's pretty significant spending in your communities. Many people were also really amazed by coming here. They had never known to come here, and we bought the group, and they were pleasantly surprised, and their eyes are open, and they're going to tell their friends. It's a really good news story, so we look forward to hopefully coming back and sometime in the near future. So yeah, Lanark County, Ottawa Valley, great place to cycle, but there's a lot of amazing places to cycle across Ontario. So it's becoming increasingly competitive. You got to get it together, keep it together, keep making it better, keep getting the word out to get more cyclists to visit. And I also threw this information here. We always love tracking different research sources, trails tourism and sustainable tourism. So trails are a huge economic contributor. It's not just us saying it, all of us here in the room. It has been documented in many different studies. There was a study by the Trans-Canada Trail recently published. 72% of Canadians are trail users, and they are spending money while they're on the trails. About $179 is the average spend of those folks that are out on those trails. Another word, as we work in tourism, sustainable tourism is a huge buzz right now. I mean, it should have been many, many years ago. But there's many different towns and tourism entities that are working on sustainable tourism plans and strategies. There's also a huge responsibility for you guys here in the room, especially towns and municipalities, to take some responsibility and stewardship to move forward sustainability for your communities, for your residents, as well as visitors coming as well. So keep your eyes on sustainable tourism developments. That's something that is a buzz worldwide, and more people are looking to make their purchase decisions based on sustainable opportunities that are available. So how can you access our Ontario by Bike and the cycle tourism market? You can do it further through our Ontario by Bike certification program, of which there's many of them. Similar to our program internationally, we were able to tailor it to the Ontario audience further. So who can participate? If you are an accommodation provider, that includes campgrounds, food services, tourist attraction, which is a wide range of galleries, breweries, wineries, museums, business improvement areas, and other cycling-related businesses such as bike tours, bike shops. And it's a free program to participate in. So you can find out more on our website, on the pages listed, or ontariobybike.ca/industry. There is certification criteria that each business has to meet, and it varies depending on the category that you fall under. There's many benefits to being a part of the program. You do get our listing on our website, which helps SEO, online search. You get a window decal that you can put in your window. You can also use it on your website. You have access to our programming and a lot of our industry resources and marketing materials that cyclists like to pick up as well. So I'll just breeze through this because this is all online. So we have criteria for accommodations. Accommodations is actually one of the strictest criteria. They need to provide secure overnight bike storage. No cyclist wants to be unsure where their bike is in the morning, whether it's a $500 bike or a $6,000 bike. They also have to have a basic bicycle repair tool set. So that's even more important in your rural communities where there's no bike shops, of which there's many in Ottawa, there's many in the city I live in, but this does not cost you very much. Most cyclists might carry this with them, but they also might not as well. There's a few requirements for campgrounds that are a little bit different. Food services have to have a secure daytime lockup, so there's many different options for that, as well as tourist attractions, if there's access to washrooms that can be provided for free, and or water fill-ups. Business areas is an interesting one, and we work with a lot of different BIAs and chambers across Ontario to meet this criteria. We have to work with them one-on-one to make sure that there are at least 5 businesses that are certified in the area, and there's a number of other requirements which I'm happy to connect with any of your BIAs or chambers or work with you directly on. Bike parking is something that's been mentioned throughout for all the criteria, so there's some great resources on our website, and there's many different versions of bike parking that can be offered. Our program is you do your own registration, so it is a self-auditing program. In the past, we have had opportunities to come around and do some site visits as well. So please go to, if you're a business, it's easy to go to our website and add your business information, and we review it, and then we will send you a welcome package as well. If you are just here representing different businesses and your community, we have a number of outreach tools available, and we'd be happy to send you that package. We also have these new wrap cards, which you can share with different businesses in your community and get them to sign up. So, for example, there's only 3 businesses certified in Arnprior. There's a little bit of opportunity there, so somebody needs to maybe get the word out a little bit further. Just to leave you with some other opportunities and ideas, when we work on destination development with our different partners, you know, it's not an easy task to develop a cycle tourism product. There's so many different pieces that come together, whether it's infrastructure, and there's many pieces under that, having the right services, having the information and marketing that cyclists can actually use to plan their trip, and also having different transportation options, if you will, to get to and from the location. Partnerships are super important as well, and we've done many assessments for different towns to look at how ready they are and under these type of pillars. If you're interested in digging deep into the best practices for businesses, we've got some research on that show what the pillars of success are. It really involves customer service and incorporating cycling into your branding to be able to reach those cyclists a little bit better. We also have an opportunity through our organization, if you are certified as bicycle friendly. Every year we have our Best Bicycle Friendly Business Awards. I know Chris is here. He was a previous winner at the Bonashire Caves. Yes, he didn't say he was actually operating from there, but in 2019 they were one of the winners, and we also have a subcategory for the Best Bicycle Friendly Business. Bike business, and Gearheads and Petawawa won last year. Yanta Cycle has won a number of years in the past as well. So look out for those, and it's a self-nomination opportunity to get further promotions. So there's a number of other ways. I'll just leave with you some ideas, plant some ideas of how you can connect with cycle tourists for additional business opportunities. Make sure that you have local cycling maps. I know there's some great cycling maps in print here. Cyclists still love print stuff in their back bags or wherever. It's not just all digital, especially in areas where there's spotty connections. And your staff should also have some type of knowledge of its cycling information, which we provide in the send-out that we send to you if you are certified. Make sure you include information on your website. So say if you are located in Arnprior, how do I find your accommodation from the trail? So I'm not just coming from 417, I'm coming from the trail. So a subcategory of information with that is good. We've also seen some shops where possible offer a discount to cyclists, someone coming in with helmets, that's whether it's local, whether it's a visitor to your area. Secure bike parking, we've already touched on, and there's many opportunities to make a more creative type of bike rack and bike parking facilities that we've seen in different towns, as well as individual businesses do as well. Some other opportunities that we haven't touched on, capture some pictures of cyclists visiting your location. You can use that on your own social media channels. You can share it a lot further if you're a business. And maybe create some itineraries. So what would you do if you were a cyclist coming to stay at, say, the accommodation here or the town here? What's a small itinerary route? Doesn't cost a lot of money to put those suggestions online. And lastly, I'll add, if you are a retail or an art gallery or a winery or a craft brewery, having some way to deliver those products to the cyclists once they return home or to their overnight accommodations is certainly very valuable. And nobody expects anything for free, but they might only be carrying their spare tube in their back pocket. They might be carrying a bigger bag, but making that available is a great idea. So partnerships, nothing can be done without partnerships in this world, so I implore you to connect with your local tourism organization, the DMO or the regional tourism organization, RTO 11. There's many types of cycling initiatives that they're supporting, and there's ways that you can work together. And I know there's some great connections here from the tourism organizations in the room as well. Connect with local cycling clubs or cycling clubs a little bit further afield. In Ottawa, there's huge cycling clubs. Wouldn't it be great if they came on some of their day rides out here in beautiful Ottawa Valley or Lanark County? Event organizers, I know there's some amazing events here. What do they need? If you're a local food service, maybe they need some assistance with catering, or there's accommodations that they put on their websites sometimes. There's all kinds of ideas to think through. There's ways that you can also connect with cyclists through offering some picnic lunches that they might be interested in picking up if you're a local foods provider. And also, just want to make sure that you, if you are already a business, that you check your listing online. Make sure it's up to date. We have your contact information, and you display our decal in your front window because cyclists are using that. So just to leave you with some final opportunities, some examples we've seen. There's a great picture here from Simcoe County, and they have a 160-kilometer trail. They've recently put out a call to local artists to decorate new furniture that's at various trail hubs situated around the trail. So that's a great way to get the community involved and bring a little art and some eye candy to some areas that might be in need of that. Adding a cycling component to any type of event, so it doesn't just have to be a cycling event. A lot of towns host great events. I've seen signs all up about Carp's Fair next weekend. You know, are they making sure that cyclists can get there? Is there parking for cyclists? Parking is often a huge problem at large events. So if more people can cycle to them, I think you're better off all in all. Other ideas we've seen across Ontario and the world is cycle and stay networks. So that's accommodation providers that are working together from one location to another. They will transfer luggage and welcome cyclists on a larger loop tour. Nobody's expecting a free service again. Cyclists do pay for that in the areas that we've seen. And please do share the information that we have shared with you today with your larger business community, and let's get more businesses certified as bicycle friendly. It's not hard to do. Cyclists are a great customer and easy to welcome and very appreciative. And lastly, partnerships are required to continue to advocate for improved cycling infrastructure, whether it's on your trails, on your roads. Working together on that is something that's going to really help move the needle forward. So thank you very much for having me here today. It's great to be back in Ottawa Valley. I'd love to stay much longer.
We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so that allows us lots of time for questions for Louisa. Ian.
Yeah, I'm interested in bicycle-friendly certification. You said there are 1,600 businesses. Have you been able to survey them to ask what the impact of certification has been on their business?
Yeah, we've done a number of different surveys to businesses. As close as we can.
I don't think so. But it really helps with promoting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you can appreciate, it's hard to get any exact numbers from
No,
businesses.
even anecdotal that people have been noticed the difference would really help.
Yeah. We're looking at doing a cyclist survey again this fall, but maybe we should also issue one province-wide to 1,600 businesses and see what we get back, although it takes a bit of resources to analyze the information. Thanks. Chris?
As a business, I'd like to help answer that question a little bit.
Chris, you want to come up? It's hard to hear you.
Okay. I don't want to be hogging the mic.
Well, we want to
You know you love it.
I advocate for people to join Ontario by Bike in my community, and people say, well, not many bikes come into my business and buy stuff. And I tell my friends, every one of those cyclists also owns a car. And if you're friendly to a cyclist for a few minutes, they're likely to come back in their car. Gas station. Those cyclists need to get gas in their cars so they can go drive someplace to bike. Do cyclists pull into my parking lot and take the tour? Yeah, once in a while they do. But most of the time they come back in their cars with their bikes on the rack, park in my parking lot, and buy admission. So have I catered to cyclists? I certainly have. My bathrooms are free to use for cyclists. They see that, and then they come back in their cars, and I see it every day. There's bike racks on the backs of cars full of bikes coming into my parking lot. So to me, those are cyclists using my business.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you can probably hear me because I kind of got one of those voices. I do have a question, even though, you know, I live in the area. It's been a continuous frustration for signage here, right? Your point is well taken. You drive through Arnprior, or ride through Arnprior, it's a great place to ride through, but why would you want to stop here? Because there's not a single sign. And the feedback I get from the elected officials is that, well, the county is doing it, we have a plan, and, you know, and it's really nothing but excuses and excuses. Can you tell me a little bit about other jurisdictions in Ontario with signage? I mean, it's not that complicated, and really, what would you suggest? Like just, you know, Tim Hortons that way, right? It's as simple as that, isn't it? Or, yes, wondering if you just comment on signage and what's the best way to do it?
Signage can open up a huge can of worms because there's different jurisdictions that own part of the trail. I did meet one of the local councillors last night, Chris, who unfortunately couldn't make it today.
Yes, yeah.
But I asked him, where's the signage? Like, how's people going to find your craft brewery in downtown? He said there's different ownerships, and the county owns part of it, and the town owns part of it. I think the town could, like, just make an interim sign at least. Snowmobile trails all over have signs for how far it is to the next community. They have, you know, those international signs showing what businesses are at your communities, and there's arrows, so I don't know why, if you want to wait for a larger plan, it might take a long time, but as a town, you can act a lot quicker. Yeah, signage is a difficult one. I'm trying to think of some best case scenarios. Probably Simcoe County's got it all figured out off their trail. They're far in advance. Otherwise, you know, you're hiring expensive consultants for a whole signage plan, such as Durham Region is doing right now, Halton Region is doing right now. So whether you're going to do it bigger or as a town take things into your own hands, you own some of that property. put some signs out more immediately.
Or maybe at 2 in the morning, just pound the sign in.
I don't know about that, but that's your secret.
Okay.
Andy, I was going to suggest that, just put up a gorilla sign and that'll force the hand of
maybe,
council
yeah.
and just say downtown this way or whatever.
Yeah, Lucas, don't rat us out though, okay?
Yes.
I think I'm loud enough for everyone to hear. So I was born and raised in Quebec. Quebec's a huge cycle hub. And I think part of it too has to do with especially at the provincial level, there's a lot of money available. Our neighbors in Vigo just got 2.2 million for 3 years to develop about 14 kilometers of trail. We have 72 kilometers of trail in Prescott Russell, which is what I run, and we get less than 80,000 a year. So that's a big thing. What do you think we can do because I think most of us are in Ontario here, as a sector to maybe, I mean, we met with our MPP yesterday, but it's one of those things that I think it needs a lot of more pressure coming from a lot of different points in the province. Do you have any tips for us to try to get more province-wide funding? There doesn't seem to be much province-wide stuff for cyclotourism, whereas in Quebec it's very significant.
Well, infrastructure funding, Ontario government through the Ministry of Transportation has given out a lot of commuter funding, and I know a lot of areas in here have received it in the past. I don't know why your trail's been overlooked, but yeah, we need to get some more attention on your trail. And I know it's been like that for a number of years, very challenging. Yeah, federal active transportation fund, they've just given out millions of dollars as well, so it's a matter of fact of applying for those funding grants and working in partnership with the counties to get that money. So there is money handed out. I can't speak to the levels of Ontario versus Quebec, and you know, we try to be a squeaky wheel, but we're also not a full dedicated advocacy organization. We're working more in the tourism world. We have access to our programming. They have an extremely small pot of money at the Ministry of Tourism Industry Development Office. It's quite shocking, really. Yeah, it's hard to get that funding, so I'm really glad to meet you because I think I've known your organization for a while, so I'd be happy to talk further.
Ian.
Can you speak to the fat bike sector and winter cycling?
Yeah, you should have come to our conference in March. We had a section on that. I think I don't have actual numbers on that. I've been tracking more of the gravel cycling market. But yeah, you definitely are seeing that growing. And a number of different ski areas are grooming their cross-country trails and putting some of them exclusively to fat biking. I'm not sure what they're doing in the city of Ottawa, probably something similar, and or people are just on the trails in the winter.
There's more trail grooming now, especially for commuters, but I'm thinking that if this segment of the market, I think, is in its nascence and will grow significantly, it's a good opportunity, a good business opportunity to be looking at promoting winter cycling.
Definitely. I think Ottawa Valley has done some promotions for winter cycling as well. There's some great imagery that we've been able to use. Did somebody have comments about that?
The discussion was about.
Sorry, winter fat tire bicycle riding. So that's a new kind of relatively new type of bike. They've got very thick wheels. It can go on snow. It can go on sand. A lot more people.
That's the question you're saying, Ottawa was doing.
No, I did say that the commuter segment, there's been more trail maintenance, more pathway maintenance, but I'm thinking there's an opportunity for the cycle tourist market with respect to winter cycling.
Any fat bikers in the room? Where do you ride?
I'm not a fat biker, but I'm with the Tourist Association, Ottawa Valley Tourist Association, and I just wanted to pick up on your comment and Louisa's comment.
And road and gravel cycling throughout the other 3 seasons.
Great. There's a fat bike trail 3 kilometers from where I live, and I go there every day in the winter, and it's wonderful. And I always ask the people that I see where they've come from, and talk to people who've come from Brockville all the way to Cedar Hill near Pakenham to ride the trails there. So they're buying restaurant meals and gas in the car and doing stuff. William will be there this winter as an ambassador as well. Any more questions for Louisa? We're back on time. Wonderful presentation. I want people to know that you can take copious notes, but we are going to be issuing a report that will have these PowerPoints in it, and so not to worry. And we will get that out, Chris George says, in a reasonable time. So hopefully before Thanksgiving we'll have a report of what happened here today. Thank you, Louisa. I bike often overseas, and I love biking in France for one reason only, is I can camp or I can go to a hotel. I often camp, and the campgrounds in France have a bakery list. So before you pitch your tent, you tell them how many baguettes you want for the next day, or a chocolate croissant, and it's ready for you, fresh from the bakery, still warm at 8 in the morning. And that's the kind of customer service that I want when I travel, and it's really wonderful. Great to have you here. We have a little gift that includes some coffee and some famous coffee and famous chocolate from one chocolate from Leonard, the coffee from Renfrew. Thanks so much.